So this is a Samsung Galaxy A15 and the Galaxy A06, with both clearly being budget devices. And I'm gonna be comparing them side by side to see which one is better, and should in case you decide to get one, which one should you go for. Now, both of these devices are some nice looking phones that I recently got my hands on. However, beauty always doesn't mean better, and beauty also happens to be a subjective choice. So what might seem attractive for someone might be the opposite for another. So with that said, let's dive in. Now, on the outside, both of these phones has their back mainly made of plastic, with the frame also being made of plastic, which we all know is a very cheap material select. However, the main differences you will notice are, on the A06 you get this vertical stripe design casted onto the back, making it not have a smooth surface, and you can feel it when you pass or rub your hand on it. But on the A15 you get this clear, smooth looking design which you can somehow mistake to be glass at first glance. And it is also a fingerprints powerhouse, like it can really get messy with fingerprints when held on without a case on. However, even with that, it doesn't look or feel ugly in any way. They have this simple, clean, boxy frame design like some other flagship devices, with the power and volume controls placed on this bump they are calling the key island, with the power button doubling as a fingerprint reader. Also, on the A06 you get dual cameras arranged neatly at the top corner, similar to the Galaxy A05, which was its predecessor. Then on the A15 you get triple cameras also arranged neatly at the top left corner, similar to the high-end ones. And I think most people are gonna like these over the A06. But either way, let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. The A15 also happens to be slightly thicker, coming in at 8.4mm, and it weighs about 200 grams, whereas the A06 weighs about 190 grams, and it is also less thicker at 8mm. And I know it's not that of a big difference, but it still kinda matters. You also get a speaker, the charging port plus a mic, and the headphone jack all arranged at the bottom of the phone. But for some reason on the A06 it doesn't seem to be well centered. It's all kind of down a little bit. I mean, it's a subtle detail by the way, but you know, it still kinda matters to me. Then up front is a huge 6.7-inch screen size on the A06 and a 6.5-inch on the A15, which for me it's just too big for my hands compared to my iPhone XR with 6.1-inch screen size. And even with that, I sometimes struggle to reach the top of the screen with one hand. Also, you get a 720p LCD display on the A06, which is why you get this big chin at the bottom of the phone, because the display connectors actually need some space to fit in. But on the A15 you get a Super AMOLED display with a 90Hz refresh rate. And if you don't know what an AMOLED display is, well, look it up on the web. One thing I don't get is why this still has the same chin as the A06 despite the difference in the display type. Like, I mean, Samsung, come on. Scrolling through menus isn't that bad on the A06, even though the screen refreshes at 60Hz. But the app drawer happens to be in horizontal order, which honestly I prefer vertical order over this. I don't know if I'm the only person that likes that format. It also gets pretty bright up to 560 nits at maximum. But on the A15 you get a slight sleep up to 800 nits at high brightness mode, which isn't too bad for indoors and occasional outdoor viewing. It looks fine, but under strong sunlight you probably find yourself squinting a little bit. But for watching videos or just some casual browsing, well, it gets the job done. Now, performance-wise, the A06 runs on a MediaTek Helio G85 processor, while the A15 got the Helio G99 processor on a 6nm architecture. And on paper, you can clearly tell that this has a leap over the A06, and it can handle some of the stuff that the A06 might find difficult or struggle with. But I can't really say much about gaming or heavy use just yet, because I didn't really live long enough with both devices. But the A06 comes running on Android 14 with One UI 6 skin on top. And with that, you get up to 2 years of major OS update, so you can get up to Android 15 and One UI 7. However, that is not the case with the A15, because this comes with Android 15 and One UI 7, and with that you get up to 4 years of major OS update. But just so you know, the A15 was released back in December 2023, so if you buy this now, you have up to 2 years of any OS updates left. And of course, I had to test the cameras. So for the A06, you get a 50-megapixel primary camera with a dedicated 2-megapixel also. And honestly, the image quality here wasn't groundbreaking. That is, if the lighting conditions aren't good enough, then the image result is just too bad. And it is the same case with the A15 also, which has a 50-megapixel primary camera, a 5-megapixel ultra-wide, and a 2-megapixel macro lens. Just that the image processing here happens to save it a bit after you take a photo. But either way, if you ask me, I'll pick the A15 over the A06. I think think the A15 did much better. The selfie camera here is a 13 megapixel, while on the A06 you get an 8 megapixel, with both devices being able to record videos up to 1080p at 30 frames per second only. Now, battery life is one area I couldn't properly test since I didn't spend enough time living with any of the devices. However, on paper, they both pack a pretty hefty 5000 mAh of battery capacity, with some slight deviations on each. And I believe with that, most people will get through a full day without stress over battery usage. Also, charging them up is pretty fast with up to 25 watts of charging speed on both, so topping it up when it's down shouldn't be a problem. Now, for the price, the A15 definitely costs a bit more than the A06. The unit that I got here is a 6GB RAM and 128GB of storage, and that costs about 1,500 Ghana cedis. And the A15 costs about 2,200 Ghana cedis for the 4GB RAM variant. Now, I also have some downsides during my short period of living with these devices, which I believe could actually be improved on. And the first thing happens to be the sound from the speaker. Now, both of these phones has got a single down-firing speaker, which isn't a bad thing, but the sound from it is actually very terrible, even at half volume. And it gets worse when you crank it up to max. Plus, the software is also bloated with preloaded apps installed on the A06, which can disrupt your use experience if you are getting these for the first time. However, I do understand that this has to be done to cut down the cost so the device could be budget friendly. But like I said, if you're a first-time user, then it's probably going to annoy you, so just keep that in mind. Now, with that said, if you are someone that is buying fresh, then I would say you should go for the A15 because that just feels more complete over the A06.